And I opened the door, and there's my assistant, one of the workers, doing the monthly planning. And so they're on the floor with the calendar. And she looked up at me and said, "Are you all right?" And I went, I'm holding my chest. And I said, "I'm just having a hard time breathing." So I said, "I'm just going to sit here and rest for a while before my doctor appointment." At the time, I kind of had a pressure headache, and we thought maybe I'm fighting a sinus infection. So he had filled a prescription for an antibiotic for the sinus infection and said, "Go home, I'll be here for a little while longer. If the results come in, I'll call you. If not, you can call this number Saturday morning and get the results, blah, blah, blah." By the time I went to the drugstore, got my prescription, and came home, I had just sat down on the sofa, the phone rang, and it was him. And he said, "These results came back. I need you to do me a favor. Go immediately to the emergency room. You are dangerously anemic and you need a blood transfusion." And they said, "Before we start the blood transfusion, we want to do some tests and find out why you're losing blood." And it was a good 4 hours when they finally came back and said, "Well, we found the culprit." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" And he said, "You have leukemia." And I remember looking at him going, "You sure you didn't mix up my blood with somebody else's?" I knew I wasn't feeling right, but I didn't feel that sick. I was just tired. And when Dr. Mary walked in, there was like this glow above her, just over her head. And it was almost my confirmation from God that this was his angel that he was sending me to help me. And it took the fear away from me. It just was total peace. Whatever she said was going to happen, whatever the protocol, routine, whatever, I was okay with. I had no questions, no fear. There was just something about her. And she was the sweetest woman I had ever met. I can remember a year later just breaking down into tears. And, she would sit with me and hold my hand and say, "You have to remember this is a tough time of year for you. The anniversary of the death of your son, the anniversary of your leukemia, and it's just a rough time." And I would go in for my weekly visits or my weekly chemo shot, and she would sit there and actually be compassionate with me and listen to me and spend a good 20 minutes with me before, she would do her doctor stuff, So she had it all. After she had asked me to be her patient, she had come to me, it was a few months later, and she had said something about she was moving south. And before I even knew anything about it, I said, "Okay, I'll put my house on the market. Where are we moving?" And she started chuckling, and she said, "No, not that far south." And that's when she told me she was leaving Dartmouth and coming down and joining the Keene area. And would I be interested in, I said, "Of course, I'd go anywhere. Like I said, I'd put my house on the market if I had to follow you." Because, she had already told me that I'd be with her for life. She's going to be my life partner. And so I go wherever. I don't want to lose her. Chemo for me, it took a lot of energy out of me. It wasn't so bad an experience that I was sick all the time. It just drained me of a lot of energy. But the nurses up at Dartmouth were wonderful, compassionate, loving, caring. I remember telling a nurse, this is the first time I've ever stayed in a hospital where I can honestly say there wasn't one nurse I didn't like. They were all wonderful, all compassionate. Doing well. I still get tired, and I find that I can't go a whole day like I used to be able to. But, she said it's been 2.5 years of chemo and a lot of chemo, so I have to be more patient with myself. And she said it'll be a good year before I start to feel myself again. But I'm learning a lot of things on my journey here, and I'm trying to get nutrition and exercise and all the things to just get myself healthier and to be a more healthy person. I just feel like I was given a second chance in life and an eye-opener as to how precious life really is. We take so much for granted. And when I was working my business was number one. And most of us think that way because it's our lifeline, it's our income, it's our breadwinner. But we really have to step back and remember what's really important in life. Although we have to make a living, It doesn't have to control our life and run our life, and it did. It ran mine and controlled mine. It came before my husband, before my family, and that's so wrong. So now family is very important to me. Always was, but like everything else in life, we took it for granted. But now I realize just how special life is and how special my family is.